Joining me now is longtime television voice of the Sacramento Kings, Grant Napear. And Grant, before we get to my question here, I have to go to your Twitter feed and some of the tweets you sent out upon news of this deal at Grant Napier's show. There's a couple of just classics here. I'm just pulling out a couple. The Kings were never going to win with Cousins. Never, in capital letters. This was a no-brainer. I wish him well. I really do. But it was time. And there's another one of my favorites. There has been a dark cloud over this franchise for years. That cloud is now gone. So, Grant, this is you're on the inside. Why the good riddance take on DeMarcus Cousins?
It was just time. It was time to hit the reset button. And, listen, the Kings' futility in the last 7 years is not all his fault. But he's been the best player, and he's created a lot of issues with this team, whether it's dealing with the media, whether it's cursing out fans. I mean, enough's enough. I mean, here he is in his 7th year. He just won a gold medal this summer, and you would think, wow, this is going to be the year that he really changes. And he's already got 17 technical fouls. The Kings beat the Warriors 2 weeks ago, and as he's walking off the court, he curses out a Golden State fan in a jersey, and then gives him the double bird. And you're thinking to yourself, gosh, is this really the face of the franchise that you want to give $200 million to? And that's just one of many things. I just think it was time to go in a different direction. It wasn't working, and I think it's just a matter of hitting the reset button, Vince. I really do. Well,
Grant, you make a good point, though, in that certainly the franchise has to bear some responsibility in the failures of this team year after year to reach the playoffs, including 6 head coaches that Boogie Cousins has played for. And I'm not an apologist for him, but I'm just saying, when you miss on some players like Isaiah Thomas and maybe a Hassan Whiteside, and you have this string of coaches, listen, there's some blame to go around, is there not?
There is some blame to go around. There's no question about that. And, I'm not trying to, push it to the back burner, but, a lot of those moves that you're referring to was made by a previous ownership and a previous regime. And so I think it's fine and dandy to bring that up. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. I mean, they drafted Thomas Robinson, plus they drafted Jimmy Fredette. He's in China. I mean, they had a lot of bad draft picks, but, that administration, so to speak, is no longer here. Vladdy's in his 2nd year. He's had 2 drafts, and we'll see how this plans out. But, yeah, it's not all DeMarcus Cousins' fault, and anyone that says that is wrong. But I do believe a lot of it has been brought on by him. I think he's a very difficult player to play with. I think he's a very difficult player to coach. And I really haven't seen that much of improvement here in his 7th year with his interactions on the court. He has done better this year with his teammates. I give him credit for that. He's made a conscious effort to support his teammates better. But all the other things, I just haven't seen the improvement. I really haven't.
All right, let's move this forward a little bit. And I thought Vladdy made a stunning revelation in his press conference when he said he had a better deal 2 days ago. I mean, what was your reaction when you heard that?
Yeah, I was surprised to hear that. I did get a chance real briefly for about a minute to ask him about that. And I said, what did you mean by that? And he said, it fell apart. And I said, well, did you have the deal? And he said, yeah, we were working on it, but it fell apart, and it was a better deal than the one we got. So I'm not really sure how to interpret that. There were a lot of other people around, and they wanted to ask the same thing after the press conference ended, but he reiterated that it had fallen apart. So I don't know if it ever got to a point where they could have said yes and that deal was consummated. We may never know, or we may find out when we get to a follow-up issue with Vladdy. He's coming on my radio show later today, and I'm going to ask him that question directly. But, yeah, I think it did catch people by surprise.
All right, this is a complete reset, Grant, as you know. So you're going to hold on to the pick if it falls outside the top 10. You could have 2 lottery picks, but that means putting a lot of faith and stock, does it not, into the upcoming draft here. This is going to be big for you guys.
Yes. Oh, well, and what's everyone saying, Vince, that this is the best draft in ages. And so the Kings can't strike out. They can't hit singles. They can't hit doubles. They got to hit triples and home runs, because you're not going to get – listen, if the Lakers can't get a prize free agent to go down there, if they can't even get an interview for prize free agents to go to L.A. right now, they sure as heck aren't coming to Sacramento. And so the best way for the Kings to get better, they're going to have to hit home runs in the draft. I don't think there's any question about that at all.
Grant, 140 characters or less, what's your message to Kings fans now moving forward?
My message to Kings fans is this. Here's a 26-year-old all-star, arguably the best big man in the league, okay, very much in his prime. He's been great on the court in terms of numbers, rebounds, and assists. And yet, when he becomes available to be had, hardly anyone steps up. And the offers that were there were not very good. What does that say? That's my message. Think about it, Kings fans. You've got a guy that is a tremendous player in his prime, and yet general managers around the league said, no, thank you. I think this was a no-brainer. I've been very, very honest with the people here, not only last night, but in the previous years. This had to be made. I wish it had been done years prior, but better late than never. I look at this as and that's more than 140 characters. It's like being in a bad marriage, and you try and you try and try, and at some point you go, you know what, I'm never going to be happy. I have to move on. That's what the Kings did. They moved on from what was a bad marriage.
Well, Grant Napear, very good. Appreciate your insight into this deal, and thank you very much. I always enjoy listening to you on the call.
Hey, likewise, Vince. Thanks for having me.